Yes, I see you. I see you. Wag your tail. Wag your tail. Oh my God. High five. High five. There you go. Okay, hey guys. Welcome to part 1 of an 11-part series of a very special off the cuff. I'm going to be doing 11 parts in this series, and I'm going to be talking about handcuffs that actually are not in my collection. My good buddy Glenn was nice enough and kind enough and generous enough to drive all the way down here from New York, where he lives, and bring most of his collection. This just blows my mind. Okay, so just say hi, Glenn. Just
Hello.
put your hand in front of the camera. Wait, can you see it? There we go. He was nice enough to bring down his very impressive collection, and at the end of the video, I'm going to put the link up to his YouTube channel. Please go to his channel and subscribe. He's got a lot of really cool stuff. Now, for our first video in the series, we're going to be looking at handcuffs that were not actually made by the original manufacturers. Everything you see on the table here was made by a master locksmith in Australia, and his name is Ian McCall. Hi, Ian. And Ian is just a wizard when it comes to making this stuff, okay? All this is done by hand. You're not going to believe the stuff he does, okay? So what should we look at first? Well,
Houdini.
yes, let's go with Houdini, because if you guys remember my last off the cuff, it was a trip to New York City to see the original Houdini mirror handcuffs. No, I did not get into the glass case and take them. These are actual Ian McCall Houdini mirror cuffs. And here's the key. Now, if you just look in the links, you'll see I put a link up to the video that I'm talking about. But these were the handcuffs that Houdini was challenged to escape from in 1904. And it actually takes a Brahma type key, which means that there's slots cut in it to different lengths, and there's slider units inside. There's about 1 million moving parts in this sucker. Here's the keyhole. And since I'm never probably going to hold the original mirror cuffs in my hands, this is the next best thing, because, like I said, Ian is just a genius. Look at the size of these things. And they have a lot of weight to them as well. Turn the key. This pops up. The wrists go in, of course. And look at the plating. And then the wrists would go in, obviously like Houdini did. And boom, would lock. Like I said, these weigh a couple of pounds. They're not light. He actually made it with different types of keys, but this was the more intricate and the closest to the original Houdini cuffs. And Ian did a lot of other Houdini cuffs too. These here are known as the Houdini number 61 handcuffs. These showed up in an auction, the original ones again. There's no pictures of Houdini wearing these things. They were just something they found in his collection, and they're one of a kind. It's a double-bitted key, and it's got this weird little eye bolt-like. And people have come up with different reasons for it. Maybe they passed a chain through it, for a belly chain or something. The important part is the way these things open. Look at that. Now, see, what you can't see inside of there is all the mechanisms, and it also folds up just like that. And they're called Houdini 61 cuffs because they were lot number 61 in the auction. Nobody really knows, like I said, anything about them. I wish you could feel what these feel like, because they are just amazing. Now, these ones are pretty much my favorite. This is a very famous cuff called the Russian manacle, and I'm going to put up a picture of Houdini wearing the original. It looks like a giant padlock with Mickey Mouse ears, and the keyhole is covered by a slide. Nice little keyhole cover. It takes a really large size key, and you would turn it, and it would open one side at a time. It's kind of tricky. You can see like that. So the one wrist would slip in this way. I'm not going to lock them, like I said. And the other like this. And there's a very famous picture of Houdini wearing these cuffs. And I actually have a picture of me wearing John Bushy's Russian manacles. But I just love the look of these things because they're like this giant padlock, and it's really an iconic photograph. Supposedly, the story goes that Houdini found them in Russia and escaped from them in one of the shows over there in 1903. And the originals are in a museum right now. And the back looks just like a British, standard British padlock of the time. But I love these because they're so freaking big. These are just so cool. This is called the square top because of the square top. And he also made round tops, castle tops. Any style that the Berliners came in the 1800s, Ian made a replica of. And each one is absolutely fantastic. And remember, all this stuff is done by hand. Yeah, the Sots cuffs. That's what I said. Exactly the same as the originals. And with the screw key, obviously, because I'm screwing it in. It even has the exact same number of notches that you would find on an original. And they work smooth operating, perfect center ring, perfect everything. At the Lancaster Lock Show this year, we saw two different types of wood chain cuffs. Here's Ian's versions, and these he did early in his career because it has this stamping, T-A-R-R-C. That's kind of the way that you would know. And it works similar to the originals with like a hex key, you know, and then it would slide through. The chain basically slides through the lock case. Hamburg 8s came in different sizes originally, and I have like several types. This one is a different color. One of these 8s is not like the others. This one's actually made out of bronze. Now, Ian made all the parts, but he didn't put it together. He sent it to John Bushy, who everybody in the handcuff collecting community knows. John, who passed away recently. John was also a brilliant locksmith and a good friend of Ian's. And you know what else is really cool? Just the fact that they're made out of bronze. It gives them a really unique look. These two are, they might look a little similar, but they're not. In the 1930s, there was a guy named Gill who made flash action manacles. It was sort of like this guy's version of the Bean Giants. He wanted something without a chain in between the cuffs. So he made a solid piece like this, and Ian has made a beautiful reproduction of it. Look, that everything works smooth. They're just gorgeous. And these, next to it, are Ian's version of a cuff that I don't know of anybody that's actually seen a real pair, called Hilliard. Even though they look similar, you have the keyhole over this side, and these are going to be like a scissors action. You ready? Like that. See, it's sort of like an S. They swing through, and you can put the person's wrist in it. It looks like a figure 8 that way, this way. It looks almost, I always thought of these as an improvement on the dollar sign cuffs. And like I said, I don't know of anybody personally who has ever seen a pair of Hilliards in real life. I do have old locksmith magazines from the 50s and 60s that do have pictures of them, but they're all line drawings. So, you know, if you have a pair of these at home that are Hilliards, just let me know in the comments section or send them to me. I accept gifts of all sorts, okay? These are Spanish Inquisition cuffs. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Legend has it that these cuffs were used on people that were burned at the stake during the Spanish Inquisition. This little piece here would attach to the rope or the belt, or the chain. It would bind them to the post, and their hands would be locked in the cuffs, okay? There's actually a story that Houdini liked to talk about, saying that the cuffs were made in such a way that they wouldn't melt in the fires that burned the victims of the Inquisition, and they would reuse them on the next victim. Yeah, think happy thoughts. There are some in museums in Europe, in dungeon museums and castles and whatnot, and these would keep your hands. There's no separation whatsoever. You'd be stuck as the flames consumed your body and the smell of burning flesh wafted over the countryside. Isn't that something? He also made a giant screw key Derby style neck collar, which other companies are making now. Like I have one from the Cub company. People in India are making them now, but none of them are the high quality as Ian's. And most of the neck collars you see that look like this, that you see on eBay and stuff, never make it out of the bedroom. Okay? These are just figure 8 manacles that your hands obviously would go in. Any kind of padlock would be used to secure it. But even the way he bent the metal is just beautiful. Similar to them, because you would use a barred padlock, these are copies of something that were supposedly used in the Utrecht prison. Other people have made similar ones over the years, and it's pretty simple. It's adjustable if you put the padlock there for guys with fat wrists all the way down. And there's several holes you can see, and it's just this sliding bar, and the only thing that holds it on would be the padlock, or in this case, the tag holder. It's basically just a U-shape with another piece of metal here, and then this slides up and down. I'm really excited, and there's a lot to show. I mean, Glenn's got a phenomenal collection. Like I said before, go on his YouTube channel. You will not be disappointed. Bike chain cuffs from France that Ian made, and they take a really strange key. It's this big boy, and it go in there, unscrew, and this top comes off. Again, these are being made nowadays in India and China and different places, but Ian's outshined them all. In France, they actually did use these at the early part of the 20th century with bike chains. 1902 manacle, and it's basically there's a huge threaded bar in there, the entire length, just like a Derby. You unscrew it, it's got the notch, and it has the locking bolt in there, and it opens like that, and it would keep your hands separated, much like a lily iron. Lily irons, the locking mechanism is in the center, and these, it's in the end. One thing Glenn does that I should do, that I haven't, I mean, I have these little paper tags, but he has them on all of his cuffs, and he's really good about keeping this stuff together. It's a great way of organizing your collection. I recommend it highly. A quick look at the roamer. When I compare these to my real roamer, it looks like I bought them at the same auction. Here's Ian's version of the ER cuffs, the famous ER cuffs, which I've done videos on before. I actually have a pair of these, but I didn't know they were Ian's until we compared Glenn's with mine, and they're identical. So, hey, I got a pair of Ian's ERs. He put the stamp, and it's not just the stamp. He found the exact same lettering system. So the letters match up to the original. One day I want to see that workshop. I'm going to give you a little preview, okay? One of everyone's favorite cuffs is the Palmers. Now, I've done videos on my 2 sets of Palmers, but mine are leg irons. These are actually the handcuff size. The locking mechanism, the exact same, and the chain with the swivel, which is amazing. Because like usually when you buy a pair of Palmers, this chain comes off. 9 times out of 10, the chain's missing, because the cuffs were also sold without it, and they would just click together with absolutely no movement in between. You know, these 2 pieces lock together. It takes a little while to unscrew it. You have to use 2 ends of the key, put it in the one side, put it in the other side, and then that's how the cuffs open. But he was able to reproduce the chain and the swivel, and it's a round ball. I mean, that looks just like the original Palmer assembly. And another cool thing he made was a Palmer neck collar. And the Palmer neck collar has a chain going down, you can see, with the ring, where the chain from the cuffs would be able to pass through it, or, you know, they would be able to combine different restraints for the prisoner. And for a long time, we were wondering if real Palmer neck collars existed. And do they? I don't know. You'll have to keep tuned to Off the Cuff to find out. The mechanism of the lock works exactly the same as the leg irons and the handcuffs. It's just bigger. And it goes around your neck, obviously. It's a neck collar. Most of the neck collars made in the 1800s were used on prisoners when they were being escorted to court, just much like we use belly chains today. They were made to just totally restrain the guy while he was in court and keep him from any shenanigans. This is a very cool one. Now, this is not to be confused with the Spanish manacle, okay? Even though the locked part, you'll see, is similar once I open this bad boy up. Ian's version of the bar cuffs, which were made by Griffith, and there's also a Hyatt version out there. And I was actually lucky enough at one of the lock shows to hold an original in my hand. Thanks, Joe. Ian, what do you want to say? Well, he put his own little twist on it, because inside, I'll show you here first, there would be a piece of metal here hiding the locking mechanism. But he left that open on purpose so you could see how the lock worked, which I thought was pretty cool. You can see the spring and the way it, you know, boom, boom, and that's how it obviously would lock and unlock. This part goes down, and then this one folded over, and it would just click closed, just like that. And if you're going to find an original one of these, they're, like I said, they're extremely rare. I love these bar cuffs. Anything that's unusual and, you know, a little off from what you'd normally think a handcuff looks like. I always love like them and the Berliners, especially those boys, stuff like that. Now, this one is a strange pistol-looking device. This actually is a come-along cuff, I guess you'd say. A single cuff with a pistol grip. These actually do exist. John Bushy did the wood part. He did the handle himself. And he did a great job on that. I mean, because I actually, at the Lancaster Lock Show, I saw one of these sold. An original, I mean. The originals are becoming a little scarcer. Sometimes the wood chips over age and whatnot. A lot of cops have these in their collections, and ex-police officers, because, you know, look, you can hang it on the wall next to your service revolver, and it's a neat conversation piece. But they were actually used in the field. And these cuffs were also originally made by the Viking company, which I know nothing about, but they're pretty cool. And look at how it makes it go. Isn't that neat? When you squeeze the trigger, this trigger actually moves in. It tightens the cuff. So it's got like a double ratcheting system in there. A normal ratchet that swing through modern cuffs have, and then the adjustable part. Like I said before, I apologize for going so fast, but there's a lot of ground to cover. I mean, we could be shooting literally days worth of footage with Glenn's stuff, and it would just, you know, take forever. But let's go with the thumbs. This is a replica of a thumb screw, and you would turn these, tighten it, and then little padlocks would lock it into place. The first mention of these I've ever seen is they were used in the Bastille in France, and Houdini had a pair of them, and somebody else owns them now. Harry's actual ones. Well, we have one in this finish, and then we have the plated one. You see? Okay. This is like a teeny tiny version of the German side cuffs. The ones with that I showed you before, and again in another video. But they're adorable, aren't they? I guess if Barbie and G.I. Joe get into S&M, they can do that. But a real small version of 50 Shades. Now you have some of his thumb cuffs. Again, the brushed steel. Just like regular thumb cuffs that the police still use. Inside is the same internal locking mechanisms that you would find in other thumb cuffs. Finally, over here, this weird looking thing. These are all finger cuffs. We took care of your thumbs, lock all of your fingers together. Yeah. So each hand would be like this. They look kind of like something that crab shells open with, or lobsters. And you'd be stuck like that. Again, I think these are purely out of Ian's own imagination, and it just goes to show his creativity.